Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be playing Civilization 6, and we're going to be going into the Exploration Age, continuing an Ibn Battuta Carthage game that I played on the channel last time. So first we're going to look at our mementos. This is something I always forget to do, so we're going to change our mementos first. In the last age, Shisa Necklace was really good for the ability to kind of snowball city-state suzerains, but in Exploration Age, it's harder to get suzerains because the AI are just generally better at clearing out city-states in Exploration. But the other reason we don't care about Shisa Necklace is that we're going to be able to make a bunch of hub towns that are going to give us like 10 plus influence a turn each. So not only do we not need Shisa Necklace anymore, but the occasional 100 influence is actually just effectively useless compared to the influence we're already going to be generating into this age. So we'll get rid of that entirely, and we will switch in Wampum Belt now. Hopefully we can still get... And this isn't going to be... we're probably not going to get, 7 or 8 or anything insane as far as suzerains go. But if we manage to pick up, a reasonable 3 or 4 suzerains or something like that, that'll give us 8 production in all of our settlements, which, now that we're actually turning our settlements into cities, should be pretty relevant. So we're going to go ahead and take Wampum Belt. And we're actually just going to stay on Merchant's Saddle. The movement speed on the scouts for Merchant's Saddle is less relevant than it was in the Exploration era, but we do still care about the movement speed on merchants and settlers, because we're trying to settle distant lands, and, if a... So you think about it this way, if the merchant gets to its trade destination to create the trade route 3 turns earlier because of Merchant's Saddle, then that means that during that game, the overall output of your merchant for the entire age is increased by that, 3 turns worth of its worth of the yields that you get from that merchant. So considering that we have a huge trade empire, and our strategy is going to still rely pretty heavily on trade, we're pretty happy with Merchant's Saddle, so we're going to keep that in there. Let's go ahead and grab the Abbasid. So the Abbasid, first of all, they have Mamluk as their unique unit, which is a cavalry unit that's really good at defending cities. And we kind of planned for that at the end of last game. We purged all of the melee and ranged units in our military, and we made sure that our military was entirely cavalry. So hopefully we'll be spawning in with almost all Mamluks in our cities, which would be pretty nice. The other big the Abbasid are a very heavy science city. You built this Ulema, which the big thing is that it gives you it makes your specialists much better at science, and then the Madrasa kind of acts like an extra palace in that it has science adjacency for quarters. So the idea with them is you want to build up very dense urban megacities and get a lot of value out of science. So go ahead and choose Abbasid and get loaded into the game. Kind of the calm before the storm here. We get to listen to the voiceover about the Abbasid Empire and look at Ibn Battuta with that kind of relaxed smile on his face right before we're confronted with the next turn button that's going to have 8 different icons on it, and that says, hey, here's 30 things you need to do rapid fire, and it's super important because it's the beginning of your empire. But let's be honest, that's what we love about playing Civ. So, and I've also already kind of I've played through this turn once, just because I would like to be able to record it in 8 or 10 minutes instead of recording it in 30 minutes, because I'm thinking about the choices and deliberating. So understand that me going through it very rapid fire is just because I've already spent a while thinking about everything I want to do. So anyway, we're going to grab Fealty and then 2 militaristic attribute points using our wildcard right off the bat. And that's the militaristic attribute points are going to get us the settlement limit out of the military tree, and Fealty is also settlement limit. Really not interested in Confederation. We're going to be making tons of influence, and we hate negative settlement limit. Wondrous Heritage is terrible, and we want 2 culturable attribute points, so we're just going to grab those. This one is a little bit more interesting. So we tried to optimize for Master Caravaneer being excellent last stage, but we ended up going to war with most of the continent, and specifically Pachacuti actually warred us right at the end of the continent, which broke probably 6 trade routes that we had spent time building up. So Master Caravaneer's unfortunately just going to be a shadow of what we were hoping it would be. So we're going to go ahead and grab 2 economic attribute points, and we are going to grab the 15% extra gold at the cost of negative 10% food, just because food is bad and gold is good. So we like this legacy. And then for the science, so we only have one academy, which we could kind of put points into, but it's not that great. Plus 10 science baseline is also not that much, and I'm actually interested in getting both of the science attribute points here, so even though that leaves us with one leftover science legacy point that we're just kind of not spending, I do still think that's how we want to spend our points, and just be slightly inefficient here. And then as far as changing capitals goes, often I like changing capital, but Carthage is just so good, and it's so far ahead of all the other cities that I think it's pretty reasonable to leave Carthage as your capital throughout an entire 3-age game. So we'll go ahead and confirm those legacies, even though we have an unused point. And then we'll spend some of our massive quantity of attribute points. So the reason we got all these attribute points, by the way, specifically the 2 culture and the 2 science, what we're going to do is we're going to fill out the culture tree until we get extra culture for every resource assigned to our settlements. And then over in science, we're going to do exactly the same thing. We're going to fill out the tree until we get 1 science for every resource in settlements. And because if we look at the resource screen, every town has at least 3 resource capacity because of the Punic ports, and we plan on making a bunch of cities, we should be able to reasonably get 30 or 40 culture and science just right at the start of the age from slotting all of our resources, and then it will further incentivize us to get our trade network back up and running, which we want to do anyway. So that's the that's kind of the plan for how we're propelling ourselves through the exploration age. So let's see what we're doing with these economic points. I think we're going to go this way. We could go here and double down on the gold for every imported resources, but I think a gold for every imported resource is a little bit less good than science and culture for every imported resource. And I know these say slotted resource, not imported resource, but we have so many resource slots that we should very rarely import resources without being able to slot them immediately. We'll grab the settlement limit right off the bat, and then I think this should be a lot of gold too, and this also incentivizes with us trying to settle the distant lands really early. So there are our attribute points spent. We're continuing to be a fairly trade-heavy build, and then we're going to go through. So we're gonna pick our towns that we want to be cities, and then we're going to turn most of the rest of them into hub towns. So first of all, we want to make sure we just have a city on each coast. So looking at this east coast, it looks like Utica is the biggest town over here, and I think Thisdris is also a reasonable option for making into a city, because it just this mountain range is just such an incredible natural barrier, so we can pretty safely SimCity here in Thisdris. Plus, this location is not surrounded by any ageless buildings, which we did do on purpose because we knew we wanted to go Abbasid, but this will be a very good Ulema quarter, so we're going to go ahead and turn Thisdris into a city, and that gets us 1 on the east coast. Let's go check the west coast. Our options over here are Hippo, Sobratin, and Hadrometum. Hippo is the biggest, and Hippo also has a bunch of this is a bunch of wide open land to build my my Abbasid unique district and then cover it in quarters, so we're pretty happy with Hippo as a town as well. And then we're probably going to pick, or Hippo as a city, excuse me, we're probably going to pick one more of these towns to turn into a city for now, just so that we don't spend all of our gold immediately, and we still have a little bit of gold to, like, buy boats, buy settlers, whatever the case. So I think it's probably going to be Thanay is an interesting choice, but we kind of spread our brickyard is right where we would want the Ulema to go, so that's kind of a bummer for being an early city. And Leptis is actually a fair sight better. Either this tile or this tile could both be pretty reasonably good Ulemas. And I'm going to kick myself if I'm saying the wrong name for the unique district. I am. It's, no I wasn't. It's Ulema is correct, so maybe I'm mispronouncing it, but I'm at least trying to say the right word. So, let's see, Leptis would cost 750, so that's a little bit more than our, ooh, what was that? That was Utica we can convert for 550. So let's, so Utica has this really interesting coastal tile that's gonna be massive yields for something. Let's see what we got here. Our saw pit and our brickyard are spread because we're trying to capture territory, which isn't ideal. But we can still get a pretty good unique district covering these step pyramids, megalith, and these couple of tiles. So Utica wouldn't actually be a bad city to go with, and I think we're going to go with it just because it's cheaper right now, and we're not entirely happy about being completely broke at the start of the age. So we'll go through technology. We're going to go for cartography first, just because the economic legacy is hard locked behind shipbuilding, and I think that the economic legacy and exploration is kind of the hardest to make it work. So as a consequence, we're going to grab cartography first so that we can settle the distant lands ASAP, and then after that we're just going to bum rush for shipbuilding so that we can start spawning treasure fleets. Specifically because we're playing Abbasid, we might make a actually no, there's no way if you're going for education before shipbuilding, so we're just rushing straight to shipbuilding. Then, as far as the... Okay, overmit settlement cap, don't care, choose a civic. So this one I'm a little bit torn on. Usually when I play Abbasid, I like to immediately go into Malaw and then Round City, just because I think their unique quarter is excellent, and I think you want to get their unique quarter up and running as fast as possible. But because the specific build we're doing right now is so heavily reliant on trade, and we benefit so much from trade, I think we're going to go with economics first, and then once we have the ability to create traders, we'll go into the Abbasid civics. So let's see, what are our social policies? Unfortunately, the social policies we start off with from Carthage kind of suck, so we're just going to haphazardly apply them. Oh, and then we want to look at every town that we still have. We don't care about cities right now, we're specifically just looking at towns, and we're going to see how much the hub town is worth. And anytime we get a really sick hub town, we're just going to go ahead and immediately convert our towns to hub towns. So this number up here isn't going to update until I get out of the city screen here, but once we've converted all of our hub towns that we want to go, our influence is going to jump up to something like somewhere between 60 and 80 a turn, and we are going to stop being concerned with generating influence for the rest of the game, because we're just going to... And this is one thing that's really, really nice, I think, about playing this like forward-settling naval Carthage build, is, you know, we just set 4, maybe 5 towns to be hub towns, and we just jumped up to a very, very nice amount of influence per turn. We're actually, so that's why we dropped Chisa Necklace without worrying about it at all, even though we're still interested in getting suzerain ships for Wampum Belt, and this will also mean that we'll probably just blanketly accept diplomatic endeavors for a while, and we should have no problem getting trade relationships with that. So let's make low happiness go away. I'm not going to do units on camera just because it's boring and it takes forever. But we'll go ahead and do our resources, and actually I think I want to set production first before we do resources. So in general, there's only 2 units I'm really considering very much on turn 1 of exploration. I want my cities to either be building settlers or stonecutters. I think those are the 2 things that are worth doing. So for now, we're just going to get a round of settlers out, and let's see, cartography is taking 8 turns to complete, so anything that doesn't drastically shoot 8 turns on producing a settler, we're going to have produce a settler, is the rough plan. And then over the next couple of turns, we're going to go ahead and we're going to be buying boats to try to get the exploration of the distant lands going ASAP. Man, we really don't have a lot of places. Oh wait, no, do not want army commander. I want settler. There we go. All right, so I think that's 3 settlers, and then we opted not to grab a settler in Thysdrus because it would have taken 15 turns, which is a little bit longer than we want to spend. So three settlers should be plenty. From there, we're just going to move into like stonecutters and maybe a couple of bazaars, but mostly we want to be preparing for the Abbasid unique quarter, the Ulema, that we're going to be able to start building in roughly 20 turns, based on how long it's going to take us to get through economics, and then unlock the civics to get the Abbasid buildings. So we'll go ahead and place the stonecutter on the city hall, and yeah, I think that's going to be it for now. We'll probably start recording again once we get economics and we start trading again. Oh, you know what? I should do the resources before we cut the recording, actually, because that's pretty important. So it's kind of same strategy as last time with the resources. We're going to start off by just unslotting everything, and then we're going to go through fixing happiness problems first, and then after that slotting resources. Okay, so let's see. Carthage is missing 7 happiness right now, so let's give them a dyes and a pearls. Carthage is actually the only unhappy settlement right now. So we'll spread our dyes out a little bit more in hopes that we can prepare ourselves for the first level of overcapping our settlement limit. If each of these is above 5, then we can eat 1 point worth of settlement limit unhappiness for free. But let's see, we can put pearls in Utica, so we'll do that. And then Carthage is only at 1 happiness, but that one we're going to be actively focusing on building stuff there to include happiness buildings. So we're hoping the unhappiness should eventually go away. And then let's see, we got a bunch of jade, and I think we're just going to continue our legacy of Carthage being the biggest city ever to have been imagined. So we're going to slap all of our jade into Carthage. And it's not doing a ton now because Carthage isn't generating a ton of base gold, but that will eventually become worthwhile, and will start causing Carthage to produce a pretty significant amount of gold. As far as the food goes, we're actually going to keep the Cowlin into our other cities that aren't Carthage, just because Carthage is the biggest already, so food is the least good in Carthage. And then, where do we want these? I think the gypsum are going to go to Thisdris as well, just because Thisdris is really low on production, and everyone else is doing well enough to, like, participate as far as production goes. Alright, let's get our fish into whatever our low food towns are. That's where we want fish to be. And then all of our production happiness. We'll go ahead and give Carthage the elephants, since it's struggling with happiness in the first place. And then I think the rest of these resources, there's an argument for putting them in Carthage just because it's our capital city and we want that to be the most powerful. But it's also relevant for us to get these other cities kick-started. So I think we're just going to kind of evenly spread the production out amongst these cities. We might actually switch this Cowlin so that we can put a cotton into Thisdris. Actually, no, we'll switch both of the Cowlins so we can put both cottons into Thisdris. There we go. So we've got 3 non-capital cities with about 30 production, and 1 capital city with 45 production. So that's a decent place to start it. And now we're going to cut the recording for a little bit. So I will see you guys next time we have a lot of decisions to make or something interesting is changing. Hey y'all. So we are here going into turn 12. And so far, you can see we've been building a lot of scouts to try to protect the independent peoples that we're trying to suzerain. We are probably going to get this science city-state here, Ayutthaya, I believe. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but we were able to block it off with scouts pretty early, and it's kind of nestled between 2 of our settlements anyway. And hopefully, the economic city-state, Mamilaparam, will survive here. We did lose, there was a scientific independent peoples here that Pachacuti immediately sent his whole army at, so couldn't save them. And then it looks like Catherine is probably taking out Takume, so we didn't spend the influence on them. I guess that means we can start spending the influence on, and you see, by the way, we've got 78 influence per turn from our hub towns right now. And I've, so far it's turn 11, and I've used the suzerain action 5 times, and 2 of the, actually no, I've used it 4 times, because I think this is the only one that's been dispersed. Yeah, I wanted to use it 5 times, but I didn't actually try to seize Takume, because they, did not stand a chance. So, we should, hopefully we can find, like, 1 or 2 more distant lands, independent peoples to suzerain. But even if we only get the 2, that's still 4 production in every city from Wampum Belt, so seems pretty worthwhile, especially given how easy it is for us to go for suzerainships with all of the hub towns that we have, giving us 78 influence a turn. It's just an excellent number. We did get our trade routes, and we kind of just prioritized slottable resources or diplomacy. So we're we're taking trades, sometimes with subpar resources, just because they include way more resources that we can actually put into a settlement. Since we have the we really went heavy into getting bonuses for having resources assigned to settlements, so that is going to cause our science, and our culture has already jumped up pretty high, which we're fairly happy about, and our science is getting up there too. Our science will get a lot better once we finish Law and start being able to build madrasas. So our the distant lands exploration that we've done so far hasn't been fantastic. We've sent plenty of boats, but we haven't really found we found these spices here as a lone treasure fleet resource, but I think that's actually the only treasure fleet resource we've seen so far. So this scout's kind of, or scout, this settler is kind of scouting, because I haven't had as much penetration with boats on this side, but hopefully this boat will start scouting, and I think eventually we might be able to send some of these scouts that are defending the city-states. We'll probably send them into the distant lands and try to get that explored pretty quickly. So it's kind of the nice thing about having so the scouts are, right now they cost me 80 gold to buy, so they're incredibly cheap. They ignore all difficult terrain except rivers, and they have a use after the blocking strategy that I'm doing, in that I'll be able to explore the entire, I'll just send them all to the distant lands and be able to explore the entire thing pretty quickly. So plus we have a decent amount of surplus gold. So the way we set our cities up is that we have a lot of urban population that is going where we want districts to go. So what we can do is we can, when we overbuild an urban district, if we instead put that new population into a specialist, then we get to take advantage of the Abbasid special ability that gives us where is it? 30 gold for each rural population of the city whenever you create a specialist. So this ends up giving you a really deceptive amount of gold per turn, because you're getting big bursts of gold that you can use to buy rounds of scouts, or a lot of military, or a bunch of boats, or a bunch of colonists, or eventually probably to convert more cities. But not all of the cities we want to convert, just because we're still, eventually we'll convert more of them, but we still care about the 80 influence a turn from hub towns. We'll probably eventually turn it off, because we will get to a point where we're I have 3,000 influence built up, and it's not relevant for me to be wasting settlements on hub towns when I have 3,000 influence built up. So this looks like war with Tecumseh, which is kind of a bummer. Oh no, this is meeting Tecumseh. I'm getting confused between a different game where I had Tecumseh on the mainland. We're also just kind of generically friendly greeting outside cities, or distant lands populations, just because, again, we have so much influence, and they could trade with us and give us resources. So Tecumseh should actually like us, I think. I don't know if leaves independent powers alone means he also dislikes other people who spam suzerainty, so that might actually be a problem if he dislikes that. But I've for some reason Tecumseh only ever seems to show he can sense it when I want to do a strategy where I clear out city-states for resources. He's like, I sense the city-states will be cleared. I must join the game to grief Gustafan for killing city-states. So Which fair. That seems like on character for Tecumseh as far as my understanding goes. I really hope that we can that Mammal Paran, we might spend influence to speed them up, because we really need them to come in fast. Because I can't really afford to declare war right now, and I know this is paradoxical given how dominant we were last, but like I lost all of my combat bonuses. You know, I don't have Numidian cavalry anymore that will storm all over any unit. I've got Mamluks, which are only good inside my own territory. So, and now we're right back to the situation where the deity bonus is enough to place their units significantly ahead of mine. So like this army would take a lot of effort for me to deal with. I guess there's a chance that we have enough. Not really. I guess we could use Niter to make a bunch of galleys to fend off the enemies, but I don't really want to be at war right now. It's going to hit us in the happiness, it's going to hit us in the gold, and right now we want to maintain the peace while we settle the distant lands. So I don't actually know, by the way, if it's right to settle the distant lands with Abbasid. Like, it might be better off to either ignore or slow roll that legacy path, just because of how much of your time and effort it takes up. But I really enjoy the distant lands mechanic, so I'm gonna do it every game either way, I think. But so that's still our plan. We're hoping to get a couple of resource towns, and we're probably not going to make any distant land cities. We're just going to make some resource towns to try to get treasure fleets. We're going to focus on building mega cities in all of our little Carthage port, and hopefully we'll be able to turn them all into cities. But we might not be able to reach that by the end of the age, since we're also focusing on other things. We're still interested in making traders whenever we have the gold due, just because we get so much, and that's going to kind of, like, eventually, right now, 30 science and 30 culture is pretty significant, but eventually we're going to start getting to the point where our, the clusters around our madrasas are going to give our empire, like, you know, hundreds to up to 1,000 science. So once we get to that point that we're really cranking out madrasas and like observatories and that kind of thing, we'll probably stop prioritizing trade as much, because it's it's a good early boost. But once we have better things to do, we should be doing the better things. So that's the idea. And it's not like we lose the benefit of the trade we've already done. So yeah, that's the basic synopsis of the plan. We haven't had anybody declare war on us yet, and it might actually behoove us to reconcile one or more of these relationships. So it might be nice to either reconcile someone who Catherine isn't hostile with. So maybe we can get a reconcile on, like, Frederick or something like that. But Frederick is so hard to please. He has such a goofy like civilizations with the greatest number of military units. Oh, he's not the blue Frederick has a goofy leader bias. It's like he likes people who only build wonders, but doesn't like people who build buildings in their capital. That's it. That just seems like a leader agenda to make him hate everybody. We might be able to get him on his side, on our side, though. You know, diplomatic actions go a long way, and we have so much influence to play with. Like, we can't do it this turn, but we can probably send the action next turn. So yeah, that's our long-term plan. Maintain the peace, do a little bit of trading, and settle distant lands while we're waiting for our techs and civics to get to a place where we can do the Abbasid mega city science snowball that Abbasid does. So I'll probably try to get back to you guys like turn 25, maybe as late as turn 30, unless something interesting happens in between. But yeah, I will catch y'all soon. Hey everybody, we are back here at the start of turn 22, and we've got a couple of interesting things going on. First, based on the screen we loaded into, we've got Frederick going to war with us on the continent, which was not unexpected, honestly. We also picked up the Mala Mastery, which gives the sales and trade policy, which is just going to be massive for us. 78 gold and 78 science. So we're very happy to pick up that policy, and that's gonna. I believe we were already in the lead on. So no, Ada Lovelace was beating us on science. We were almost in the lead, but yeah, with this policy, we're pretty comfortably in the lead now. So. We've got Frederick, who just declared war on us, and Pachacuti also actually declared war on us a couple of turns ago. Oh, and he forward settled us. I just noticed that. So far he's only really attacked Hippo, and our Mamluk here is proven able to hold his ground, but it seems like a fairly weak unit. I feel like this is this is more down to the fact that I have a ton of horses than the fact that the Mamluk is strong, but it is one of those things that's going to increase in power as I increase in power. As my city grows, the Mamluks are going to get better, and now that our science is big, we're also going to get to heraldry soon, fairly soon, and be able to upgrade to like tier 2 Mamluks probably earlier than the AI is able to upgrade their army to tier 2. So we should be able to put in a pretty good showing of beating them up once once we've had a couple of turns go by, we're able to upgrade all of our Mamluks. So we have, by the way, unlocked the entire Ulema unique district now. So at this point, I think this should be worth a lot, so we're going to go ahead and grab... We're going to continue grabbing this, because we also just want to get the House of Wisdom, and the House of Wisdom is an excellent wonder to have as your, like, your Civilization unique wonder that you get X production on, especially because the House of Wisdom is usually it's a fairly late unlock, I believe. So normally it's a Society Mastery, right? And I think you can get to the Mastery on this Abbasid unique Civic way faster than you can get to the Mastery on Society in most games. So, and that's also going to kind of help us out with the fact that we skipped Piety, so our relics are going to be a little bit slow. We should still be able to collect 12 to finish the game, because we took the belief that gives us 2 relics for converting city-states, and we only managed to keep 2 of our mainland city-states, which is kind of a bummer, but we are going to be getting Etelkaz probably eventually, and excuse me, we're preventing Montalban as well, and hopefully we can find a couple more on the far distant land continent. We did actually find a pretty exciting distant land settle. We've got the Thera volcano here, along with a chocolate city that only has 1 treasure fleet, but we're probably going to try to actually triple settle this little bit of land, because there's a town here that captures this tea and this sugar, which is pretty good, and then there's a town here which captures these 2 these 2 teas is what it is. But we have Tecumseh has a settler in the area, so we kind of we need to disband Cath in order to actually capture these settlements that we want on Thera and the distant lands resources. But we want to wait until our settlers are actually in place, because Tecumseh is here with a settler as well, and we don't want to clear the independent people just to give him the ability to get a really good settle, you know. So that's the our gold is really cranked at this point too. We're making quite a bit of money, so it's very easy for me to just turn on the money fountain at any city or town that's being attacked by a Mamluk for a turn until the city's safe, and then move on with my life. So it's certainly showing that all of this economic infrastructure that we built up in the Antiquity Age is making our game very strong at this point. We could go and raise Chucuito, but I'm not actually all that worried about being forward settled. Like, I wasn't going to settle there anyway, and I kind of don't care that the AI is there. We're usually far enough ahead of him that it doesn't matter. And that's right between Carthage and Thanay, which Thanay is kind of small. Thanay might be hard to defend, but, you know, the Mamluks in Carthage are, let's see if I can target something to... Oh, it needs to be something that's hostile. And Angry Ashoka hasn't actually got mad at me yet. But either way, the urban population in Carthage is huge. We've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4... We've got a lot of urban population in Carthage, so our Mamluks should be incredibly strong within the capital. We might need to invest a little bit more in defending Thanay and Leptis, though, because they both have Mamluks, but they're also both pretty small. So, luckily, the Punic port in every town on the mainland is providing like a good baseline level of strength for the Mamluks. We need to... Frederick just declared war on us, and Mediolanum is kind of in danger, but we have an army commander with 5 Mamluks here, and we also picked up a galleon from a narrative event early on that cost us like 200 gold and 4 turns of production out of Carthage, but it seemed fun, so I picked it up. And now we're gonna see how it works. It should enable us to get some pretty free pillaging, and we should be able to fairly quickly convince Frederick that war is not his best path forward in this game, and I certainly do not believe that it is right now. So that's where we are. We're defending ourselves and trying to make this. This is probably going to be our only real like once we get a couple of settles on this island, this is probably going to be our only real interaction with the distant islands. This is a great distant island settlement to take, by the way. We're super happy to grab this little island cluster and, you know, slap down 3, maybe even 4 settlements just if we want to completely fill out the land. But yeah, now we're just on to onto building our megacities, and you can see that the science has already started to take off here on turn 22. We're at 240 science, so like if we look at the tech tree and see all the numbers on how long it takes to research everything, we're already getting through the tech tree really quickly, to the point actually that we're probably not even going to have our distant lands resource. Yeah, I haven't even improved the cocoa yet because I usually don't expect to be getting shipbuilding that quickly. So that's roughly where we are. We're a little bit worried about Ashoka declaring on us as well, and as such we've kind of left these scouts in place just because we don't want since Ashoka's likely to declare on us pretty soon too, and we have a lot of we might need to really militarily reinforce this area, is what I'm saying. So we'll I think we're gonna cut from here, and I will get back to you if any of these wars require more than just spot building Mamluks and defending the territory. I'll probably get back once we have this entire area settled up the way we want it settled up. So maybe those will be at the same time, and then maybe at a breakpoint of like once we're at like, I don't know. Let's say we'll stop back in when we're at 500 science as well. The influence is we're not quite at the point where we have infinite influence, but we're starting to get to the point where you notice that I'm only at plus 70 now and not plus 80 like I was. Oh, you know what? I probably didn't actually record when I was plus 80. Either way, we turned Hadramedum into a city as well. So we're gonna slowly start transitioning our hub towns into cities as we have the gold to support it, and as our influence starts to stockpile and we start to have, you know, just significant amounts of it lying around. So until any one of those things happens, I guess I will catch you guys next time. Hey y'all, we are back here at turn 28, which is only 4 turns later, but I think it's an interesting time to bring back the recording because the 3-front war that I'm now engaged in is starting to get interesting and become pretty much the entire focus of my gameplay right now. So the general rule of thumb we're going for is that Mamluks are defensive units, and the best way to make them better is to try to build our way to safety. So for instance, Carthage, where I have a huge urban population, if I select a Mamluk and initiate combat there, I'm getting 20 combat strength from urban population. So these guys are huge. Carthage is safe basically because it's huge, whereas if I just bought that Mamluk, so I won't be able to. Okay, here's a good example. So Sabrotan has a much lower urban population. I think we've got the Brickyard and the Saw Pit. That's 2, 6 combat strength from urban population. So even though this is actually a level 2 upgraded unit compared to the level 1 Mamluk that I showed off in the capital, this is actually even with the enemy unit, even though you know, it's a better Mamluk just because of where it is. So what we've done is we've kind of prioritized getting a Mamluk and a boat in all of these cities that are kind of on their own. We're getting a lot of assistance from Catherine in defending Hadramedum, which is really nice. And Sabrotan, the healths are a little bit low, but we're keeping Ashoka at bay pretty well. He seems to have made too many commanders and no units to go with it. So we're definitely gonna look into AI mods after this one, I think, because it does feel cool to win these wars against the souped up enemy units that have like an impossible combat strength advantage. But it does feel like kind of a bummer that they're basically, it seems like, making units randomly and kind of, you know, moving them at you. So hopefully we can fix that in the future. Still, for now, since we have it available, we're gonna go ahead and dominate these wars. So the general theme is that we're not really attacking if we don't have to. The walls have health, and the enemies will batter themselves on the walls. So we're riding out to kill the archers when we can, or the army commanders that we can attack for free. But for the most part, our Mamluks are just hanging out behind the walls, letting the coursers batter themselves on the walls, and then taking out the coursers when they're low enough that the Mamluk won't take a ton of damage for defending the city, basically. We are trying to take advantage of boats. Boats are still very good. Unfortunately, our boats are pretty weak to enemy boats. So, like in this case, we're kind of just building this cog to be a effectively an artillery piece. in the city of Hadramedum, and we might reasonably need to buy another Mamluk soon, but we're not there yet, and Catherine being here is a big deal for us. Down here with Rome, we're actually trying to put an end to this front. So very early in the game, I made honestly probably a bad decision to spend a ton of Carthage's production in gold on a narrative event to get a galleon. But now that we're engaged in this huge war, the galleon's actually kind of coming in handy. You see that we've built up an invasion force of 4 level 2 Mamluks, which are still pretty weak in enemy territory, because they really, really depend on the being in my population, or my being in my territory to get the population bonus. But yeah, we're having a pretty strong showing here. So we're not really interested in taking Frederick's territory. It kind of sucks. There's still the part of me that wants to capture Roma for the just to say that I did, as like a showpiece. I want to put Rome up on my mantle. But this will be a really long and arduous conquest where we don't have any good units because we're not in friendly territory and they have 4 walled districts. So realistically, we're probably going to hold Fee Camp, whatever. We're going to hold this city. Or this town, more likely. And we might try to make a push for Rouen, but mostly we're trying to sue for peace and then give Frederick his territory back so that we can send our units back to Mediolanum too. We're not giving him Mediolanum back, that's our territory now. But Fecamp, and maybe we can push Rouen, and we should be able to get Frederick out of this war, so that's the hope. We are, based on the gold income, the science, and assuming their production is also low based on the low settlements, we're not really worried about Ashoka or Frederick. They're both pretty weak, but Pachacuti is actually proving a little bit of a problem for us. He is pushing all of our small cities on the border, which I don't think we're in danger of losing them, but it is quite a drain on my resources. Plus the the war weariness, along with the increased settlement limit from temporarily holding Frederick's territories, is killing me right now. So it's definitely having an effect on our income. Up here in the north with Thenay, Leptis, and Thisdris. Thisdris is safe, obviously, because of the massive mountain barrier. But Thenay and Leptis have kind of just been left alone, which is nice for me. Pachacuti's been much more focused on Carthage, which, again, the Mamluks just have such a huge combat strength advantage in Carthage because of all the urban population. It's very good for his efforts to be focused here because we're defending it real easily and getting a lot of commander experience. Hippo is proving a little bit harder to defend, but we're probably going to get there. The attack is kind of running out of steam here, and we are at the point where we have an archer and a level 2 Mamluk, and Hippo's actually coming along pretty nicely. So pretty soon Hippo is going to be reaching that population number where the Mamluks are able to more or less defend it themselves. So that's kind of where we are. We've spread out across our. This is going to wreck our happiness. Whatever. We need to put a premium on. We need to be fast about getting Frederick out of this war so that we can drop those settlements and hopefully lose a little bit of war weariness. We are doing benefit. Our influence has fallen somewhat since the very beginning of the game, which we mentioned would happen naturally, but it has allowed us to keep pretty high war support on 3 fronts, which is not something we want to do. It's taking an incredible amount of resources, but we have the resources to do it, so why not? We might actually want to try, if we take Rouen, we might try to get Ostia in exchange for Rouen and Fecamp. But I guess I don't really want to play against my city limit. I don't know. We're not quite sure how we're going to try to work this peace deal to our advantage, but we're definitely getting Frederick out of this war, and it's a couple turns. We've got 3 turns until we can do it, but he shouldn't be here long. So that's kind of where the war is going, and our city focus is actually mostly just trying to build our way out of the problem. We're spending gold on Mamluks where we can, and we're trying to build buildings with our production to give combat strength to our Mamluks. So it's it's something that can't hold up forever because we are, you see we're on 63 gold. Our gold has fallen down to 360 a turn, and the state of the empire is definitely dragging us down with all these wars. But if we can manage to keep building infrastructure and get through the wars without losing anything important, then I think it should work out with us to put us really far ahead. So that's kind of where we're going with that. Let's see. We'll build to this niter to capture the tea. We were a little bit worried about Tecumseh settling on our little resource Thera island, but we were actually these towns are going to be a little bit smaller, but that's actually entirely okay. We're basically just capturing resources in Thera with them, so they don't need to be that big. They just need to be big enough to grab their 2 resources. This Zabit actually has quite a few resources in a very small area, concentrated. That's what I was looking. They have a lot of resources in a concentrated area, so we're probably looking to expand to the resources and turn these into some kind of specialized town. Not sure what it is yet, but we're using some of our influence to try to make friends with Tecumseh. Trade map is still pretty bad as far as a place to use your influence, but we have tons of it. We have interest in making friends with Tecumseh, so we can send him, we'll even send him a farmer's market. Also bad, but still improves relationship with someone who has reason to possibly fight us that we really don't want to fight. We really want to be closing fronts in this war, not opening new ones. So, and we are able to get the majority of the value out of this. As far as I can tell, only really good cluster in the in the Distant Lands islands. I don't know. Maybe something good is hiding in the Fog of War here that I didn't have time to explore, because I have been. Oh, this scout's gonna die to rough seas. That sucks. I have been sending a lot of my boats specifically back to the mainland to defend. I know that it's been working out reasonably well. That's why I can reasonably make my counterattack here in Faycamp and then hopefully Rouen. Shipbuilding is going to be coming through pretty soon, so we should be able to load up 3 or even 4 of our Mamluks on our commander, and then just use the commander and the galleon to take out Rouen over the ocean. So the timing should work out nicely on that. Benefit of having really high science really early on in the game is it kind of we're still getting less science than we would if the war wasn't there, but because we focused on a huge early burst of science rather than options that would scale our science better, we're much more resilient to the war because we're still experiencing that very high early science, and we're outpacing everybody on science right now. So it's working out pretty well for us. It's nice to be able to use level 2 units against the enemy's level 1 units. And that's another reason we're hoping to end the wars as fast as we can. So once we finish Frederick, once we get Frederick out of the war, we'll probably switch focus to getting Ashoka out of the war, which he might do naturally just because of the difference in military strength. I know my military strength is shot way up in the past couple of turns just because I've been getting Mamluks and boats, and I think I bought an archer in one place, so hopefully we can get it down to just Pachacuti. He might even sue us for peace, but he's on a much more even footing with us in terms of population and gold. He's actually making more gold than we are right now because our empire is so upset with, it makes sense. We're 4 settlements over the limit and we've got 3 wars going on, so hopefully we can recover from that. The biggest city, so I think Carthage is actually still on positive happiness, or it's on negative 0.4 happiness. So the mosque, where do I have my? Yeah, so the mosque actually has a happiness adjacency for happiness buildings. So that makes the inn a pretty decent building since it's a food and happiness building. So it actually does improve our mosque. So we have the Colosseum here, so we're still, for the most part, obviously right now Carthage is suffering happiness penalties, but for the most part Carthage is getting away without suffering happiness penalties. And that means that the impact of this 4 settlements over the limit is still somewhat nullified. Right now we're obviously experiencing the effects of it, but it's only hitting us for a couple of turns of the time, most of the time, so it's, I don't know, I don't think it's that bad. I'm happier with just having the just having all the territory and having the early positioning, because we can always build the happiness back in. You know, we can research the settlement limits, we can build the mosques, we can build the temples, but you can never go and unsettle bad AI cities. Or you can raise them, but like the war support system gets out of hand really quickly if you start treating that as an option. And it's also just a horrible thing to do. Like, it is a video game, but it makes me feel icky, and I do not like it, which is probably a good thing. So, we are going to run into a problem here soon where we need to buy fishing keys in our resource cities, because shipbuilding means we got 2 turns, but we are going to, hopefully we can avoid purchasing a military unit for a turn or 2, which seems impossible given the current state of our empire, but you know, we can always hope. And we are still pillaging here, but like, it's not nearly as good as it was in Antiquity, basically because 30 gold was a lot of gold in Antiquity, and 30 gold is not a lot of gold in Exploration. So I'm doing it because I think that this will, I think that this goes into the calculations that the AI use to decide whether or not they'll accept peace, and I think by pillaging the crap out of Ostia, we're improving our chances of getting peace in 2 turns now, or is it still 3? Yeah, I've been rambling so long that it's the same turn. But yeah, that's, I think that's all of where we are. We're not really focused on the victory conditions right now. We're, honestly, at this point, we're kind of just letting the economic victory condition handle itself, since we do have our distant land settlements. The military one is going to be a little bit harder, and we haven't even built the religion, but we've made sure that there are city-states, and we have guaranteed relics when we get around to converting the city-states. So that one's going to be a little bit later, but we're reasonably sure we're still going to be able to pull it off. So that's, and then the science one is just trivial in Abbasid. If you put specialists in your mosques and your ulemas, which, spoiler, we're putting a lot of specialists in our ulemas, especially because that's a lot of our economy right now, is using the Abbasid burst of cash you get whenever you build a specialist in a city to fund our military, which is it's working out pretty well, because like, that's allowing us to basically build our rural districts around the ulema whenever possible, and then whenever we can, we build over them and immediately get a specialist somewhere and get a bunch of gold, build a military unit. It's a loop that's working out real well, and as such, we're just going to keep doing it. So yeah, that's where we are. I'll probably start recording again if we start losing somewhere, or if there's a major change in the war, or barring that, probably when we manage to push Frederick out. I'll be amazed if we don't manage to push Frederick out of the war. I'm so convinced that Frederick is done come turn 31, but we will have to wait and see. So anyway, catch you guys soon. Alright, so we are back on turn 31, and my attempts to get Frederick to peace out were successful. So we were able to offload a terrible settlement that was imposing a -5 happiness penalty on all of our other settlements, and I'm not sure exactly how war weariness works, but hopefully we're able to take care of a little bit of it because of getting Frederick out of the war. So that also means we can go back to Mediolanum, focusing on we can go back to focusing on nothing but booming in this city, and we can probably also move our commander full of Mamluks and our galley. Unfortunately, it's really far away from anything else, but we might use this force to start helping Shamron and Utica, and we might even take Appalachia. Might even burn Appalachia down, honestly. We're not very happy about the AI encroaching on our dominance of the coast. So that's probably more of a a vanity decision than a good game decision. But hey, I think we're powerful enough right now to make vanity decisions and still reasonably be able to effectively win the game. Especially given that I think I complained about this earlier, but especially given that the AI just doesn't understand fundamental game mechanics and seems to just kind of move their units randomly. So yeah, we're going back to nothing but and I say going back to as if we weren't doing that the whole time. That's our entire game plan, is to build our way out of problems with our cities. So I guess we're not changing anything by continuing to build our way out of any conceivable problems. We're putting a little bit of a focus on really production mainly, but after that science kind of. But you know, like we're probably going to grab the shipyard and then the bazaar, just because gold is pretty useful for us right now, and we're already cruising with science. You know, we don't. We're past. We're at the point where we have enough buildings, enough to do in most of our cities, that we benefit less from getting more and more science. And we also kind of now, you notice all of my buildings, almost all of my buildings show a little bit of extra science, and that's just the power of the madrasa, because the madrasa scales with being adjacent to quarters. We just, no matter what we build, we gain benefits if we're making quarters adjacent to the madrasa. So that also makes the Punic port immediately really good too, because that's immediately going to be 2 science on the ulema. And we're actually, is there anything cheap that we can build? Not really. We could build a sawmill and it wouldn't be that much. The sawmill kind of sucks though. I guess I think. Oh wait, no, it needs to be a completed urban. So we're trying to spend the alim here that says create an observatory, but it has to be on an urban tile that already has 1 building on it, and we really want to build our observatory in this tile. So we're kind of just camping out with him. We're also kind of trying to train our way into the 4 alims for the narrative event. I'm not quite sure if that's worth doing. I haven't spent as much time like simming and playing Carthage or Abbasid in general as I have with Carthage, but in general the narrative events in this game seem pretty good, though I am slightly inclined to believe that they're better in Antiquity when the lower numbers on them matter a lot more. So at this point the war should be pretty trivial. As we're able to close fronts in the war, we're able to kind of flood our forces towards the remaining open fronts. So whereas we've kind of been, you know, barely defending these cities against Pachacuti for a while, and we've had spend a lot of resources to barely defend these cities, soon we're going to be able to, you know, we're probably going to take over Appalachia once our you know, what we could come closest to calling our main military force gets there. And then we're still defending pretty decently over here. We should try for peace with Ashoka too, actually. Like, he declared war 1 turn later, so we have to wait another turn. We also want to, we're interested in starting to run reconciliation as soon as possible. Just because, like I said, we're not nearly, so we still don't care about taking enemy cities, because Deity settle crap cities. So why would we take their crap cities when we could settle our own good cities? We're fast enough to do it. And the pillaging doesn't matter either, or we are still doing it, and it's not useless to do, but it's not nearly as good as it was in Antiquity era. Just again because it's still only 30 gold per pillage, which is not a lot in this era. So we're really much more interested in peace. Plus, we would really, you know, our empire has a pretty significant unhappiness problem right now, which absolutely sucks, and there's just not much we can do about it at the moment, because our resources have more important places to be. We did get really lucky with an alim. We got one that will give me 50 influence for every tile of a navigable river, and we happen to have a huge navigable river in our territory. So I don't feel like counting, so I'm not going to, and you can't make me, but I will definitely turn the recording on before we pop that alim, so we can see that fat influence number when it comes in. And I guess if you're watching at home and you want to know, then feel free to count if you want to. I'm not gonna yuck your yum if you would prefer to count and know how much influence we're getting from that river. But I would rather just be surprised by it. I just know it's going to be a lot, and that's all I need to know. Alright, it looks like we might have actually fended off the rest of hostilities in Hippo, so that would be pretty exciting. And hostilities in Carthage are already... We don't quite want to use our units to invade these 2 cities, just because these units that are very strong in Carthage get real weak as soon as we move them into enemy territory. But I guess we could even try to peace Pachacuti. He will reject the deal. Proposal lacks substance. Whatever, we're definitely burning down Appalachia. We go and get rid of that city, and because it's technically stealing resources from Utica, and it's definitely stealing space from Shamron. So we're and I think we're willing to take the one war weariness penalty for taking out that one city. So we'll see. I don't know. Maybe my conscience will strike and cause me to anthropomorphize humans in a video game and not burn down their city. But who knows? Yeah, anyway, that's where we are. I guess I didn't really have a huge war update there, but we did successfully peace out Frederick. And we'll be tuning back in. So if I right-click that, that should take... So at the very latest, we'll be tuning back in 8 turns when we get to see how much influence that Alim gives us for that huge navigable river. So anyway, I will catch you guys then. Hey y'all, we are back here at turn 33 again very soon. Hopefully a short update. We did manage to piece out Ashoka, which I guess I actually showed that last time. One of our scouts that was randomly exploring discovered the Great Barrier Reef, and I'm realizing that I have absolutely terminal Isabella brain because it took every ounce of willpower in my body to not drop what I was doing and build settlers to settle the Great Barrier Reef. So honestly, I still might, but at this point, the science that we would get from the Great Barrier Reef isn't much in the face of the science that we're getting from doing our urban thing. So it's not actually a good game move to go and settle the Great Barrier Reef, and that's a thing we should not do. However, don't be surprised if in like 20 or 30 turns or whatever I have a town over on the Great Barrier Reef doing nothing but making my happiness worse. I'm warning you now. Don't take that as a good decision if you're watching my gameplay and deciding what to do. Other than that, we are at the point now where since we've ended a lot of the fronts in our war, and we're basically, there's a little bit of an attack going on in Utica right now, but we should be able to get there in time to defend it, and then take out Appalachia in return. And miraculously, still nothing has happened to Thanae, Leptis, or Thysdrus. Apparently, Ashoka gave this town to Catherine when they ended their war, so pretty happy about that. Much happier to have an ally on my border like that, as opposed to having an enemy on my border like that. And other than that, I think we're safe to just start booming again. I think we've got enough military to finish prosecuting this war, and I think we want to turn back towards fixing our societal problems and our happiness deficit in everywhere. So, oh, not everywhere. Alfustat is happy. Why is Alfustat happy? Oh, they're happy because they like Thera, which makes sense. Okay, but anyway, that's yeah. So there's my short update about my terminal Isabella brain. I'll see you guys when we pop that Alim on the huge river. Hey y'all, we are back here at the very end of turn 38, and our Alim has finally arrived at this massive natural river, or navigable river. So we're gonna go from 294 influence up to 900. So we just got 600 influence from that unit. That is wonderful. We're gonna go ahead and make Pachacuti even worse off in this war of his. And the other thing that we're going to be able to, and this is hopefully going to be another short update, but this is going to allow us to see what the narrative event for completing the Alim quest, because I don't know if that was actually worth it. I spent a lot of Carthage's production trying to complete this quest in time, when it might have been better off for me to just do other things. But let's see, those all look good. These Abbasid unique policies just give such high yields. They're amazing. Okay, so let's see the narrative choice. Oh, that was just a cultural attribute, which we would have got anyway. 250 happiness towards the next celebration. Okay, so that was completely not worth it. And maybe the Alims themselves are good enough. We did just watch an Alim give us 600 influence, and we have a free observatory over here. So that was kind of a way for us to transfer production from our capital to a smaller city, which worked out. Let's see what this guy does. District with at least one specialist limit. This tile gets +1 specialists. Okay. So we could fill out specialists in Carthage, or we could go and fill out some specialists in another city. I think we'll just go to Hippo. That seems like a good idea. Just because Carthage is more it has more problems with the specialist cap right now than it does with having specialists to fill that cap. So now that we've finally grabbed all of the, I guess technically the City of Peace is pretty good here, and we could spend some turns getting that early, and it wouldn't be a bad thing. This is also the +4 food on science buildings. Food is bad, but +4 food is huge in this game where you care about having 40 tile yields to get the science mastery point, right? So we don't actually care about the food. We just care that that's more numbers on our districts. So this is pretty good, but I think we have gone too long without spreading a religion. So we're gonna go ahead and grab piety so that we can start our religion up, and we're basically just looking to convert all of the city states. So we've got Tecumseh's city is getting burned down by someone. That's wild. There must be like a hostile city-state down south or something like that. I don't know. This treasure fleet will be able to scout. So our treasure fleets have started coming in also, by the way, which isn't a huge deal, but we are actually just popping all of them immediately instead of saving them up for the end of the game, just because we lost a lot of tempo with the size of the early wars we were dealing with. And we're trying to get as much of that tempo back as possible. So we're in general, I think most of the decisions that I make in Civ are like, how do we get the most short-term benefit? And I think that ends up working out in this game, because playing for short-term benefit means that you reach each technological breakpoint or each civic breakpoint where your the next thing you're pursuing is getting better and better. So I think that actually just ends up working because of the way that the integrated value of the yields in this game works. So that's what we're going for. We're using the gold to mostly we're just building production buildings. Everything but the production buildings we are just letting production build, but we're gold buying production buildings to try to get that tempo back in our empire. As far as science goes, we've already got the shipbuilding tech, which is kind of important. So now we're just picking up masteries that are good. Notably, this combat and strength and fortified districts should be pretty relevant for protecting Shamron and Utica, which Shamron is actually coming under pretty significant attack. So luckily, our general is arriving there, but we're running into the issue that Pachacuti is actually starting to get his tier 2 units now, and his knights are demolishing my Mamluks. We're back to actually having to respect that they're AI and have the deity combat strength bonus. So it's a sad place to be. We don't like respecting the AI, but sometimes you got to do it, unfortunately. We've been able to do pretty well in these naval trades just because we've been pillaging, of which, amusingly, we mentioned how pillaging isn't that good, but in this case it's the 30 health that matters from the pillaging rather than the gold. So even though we're losing, like we're getting hit for more damage than we're dealing every time it hits us, we're also spending every turn healing for 30, which they're not doing. So let's go ahead and buy this dungeon. Where do we want the dungeon to go? This seems like a pretty good dungeon. And then, probably get the inn for the happiness. I think that the happiness building options just tend to be very, very good. Especially because the inn is, like, if the inn was just a food building, we would never even look at it. But because it's a happiness, it has the tag that makes it a happiness building, it gives adjacency to the mosque. So it actually makes the inn pretty decent to build, I think, in most cases. Plus, it since it has a happiness yield on it, it's actually one of the buildings that doesn't suffer as much from going obsolete when you go to the next age. Basically, because one of its yields is the happiness is one of the maintenance costs usually, because one of your yields is happiness, you can't have a happiness maintenance cost. So they actually do well purely because they have half of the maintenance cost when they're obsolete. So we're pretty happy to build inns in general. kind of the same concept as all the buildings that we like, the guild hall and the dungeon. We really like both of them, just because 2 influence is ageless. It's always good. So, I think we're gonna cut from here, because at this point we're kind of just mopping up the war, and Pachacuti's still holding out and still being a problem for us, but we're still advancing through the tech tree faster than he is, and we're still, we still haven't even lost walls anywhere yet. So it's I think it's stopped being interesting. I think we've kind of solved the war problem already, so we're probably not going to record any more of that until Pachacuti calls Uncle, which we might not let him do just because we have 7 war support against him. That's it's pretty expensive to support this war at this point, which we've been able to fund because we have had just excellent influence generation the entire game, but it's still costly. So anyway, I will catch you guys next time there's something narratively interesting to talk about. So hey y'all. So we are back here at turn 43, and this turn is significant because we just unlocked Piety, and you'll notice I've also been stockpiling a little bit of gold, and the idea here is that I want to, because I've been so late on my religion, I want to kind of push temples quickly, especially because the happiness from those temples would be really welcome across my empire right now, and especially with let's see if I can show the text here. So the mosque, is it the mosque? No, it's not the mosque. There we go. So the technology, the Malah civic gives me 2 extra happiness on resources in temples or settlements with the temple. So that's actually going to be a huge burst of happiness to our cities. So let's go ahead and take a look at. Actually, Hippo's a great example. So Hippo right here is, turns out we didn't have a spot for the House of Wisdom in Carthage, so we ended up producing in Hippo. So Hippo's got negative 14 happiness right now. Pretty rough. But the temple gives 11 happiness, even though it's only got a base yield of 4, and we don't have any mountains to press it up against. So I guess that's also because there's a specialist in this tile, but the specialist isn't worth any happiness because the temple has no adjacency bonuses. So we could even technically get a little bit better here if we... what am I adjacent to there? I'm not sure why I'm getting better happiness out of not building it on top of this kiln, but I might actually do so just because the happiness is so much more relevant to me right now. So I think we will. We'll go ahead and... So now, that's 13 happiness that I just took off the top of my cities. So it's gonna very quickly stop mattering that we're way over the settlement cap, especially as we start to get relics. So we are also we're gonna try to build our first temples, and when I say build, I mean buy, because we're trying to catch up since we're late on religion. We are gonna try to buy the first couple nearby to the city-states, just because that's the relic condition that we gave ourselves was converting city-states for the first time. So we're gonna try to do that ASAP is the plan. I think that 1 missionary should be enough to get both of these city-states, and then we also want 1 to pick up... These 2 city-states are really spread, which is pretty unfortunate. And Thysdrus might not actually have room for a temple. We're pretty happy with what we can do in this city, but it is kind of low on building space, so Thysdrus might be maxed out, unfortunately. Utica, on the other hand, would love a temple. Would love a temple. Yeah, we'll place it there for the extra happiness point, which I think is going to give us a specialist anyway. Yeah, it is going to give us a specialist. So, though I've kind of been taking rural population in this city over specialists, just because the happiness is so bad in Utica that I don't want to be spending it more of it on specialists right now. So we're very much trying to recover happiness in a lot of these citizens, and that's it's going to be the same thing for Hippo here. Oh, we can actually make this city happy if we grab that farm with some... Oh, no, just kidding. It seems like sometimes the UI shows you happiness that doesn't exist on rural tiles, which, at very least, we're not using happiness on a specialist, which we would like to do because specialists are really good, but we can't really afford to right now since we're trying to to fix those happiness penalties. Trade wins. I think this just gives you global happiness. I don't think it gives you happiness towards the unhappiness limit in civic cities. However, we are very interested in rushing towards patronage and Upa here, specifically for the Upa for the happiness adjacency. So that's what we're going to go for. I think we were at the same point last time, but our war has pretty much grinded to... I guess we're pretty close to being able to take Appalachia with ships here, and I'm hoping that taking Appalachia should end this war. And we might... I know I said I wanted to burn down Appalachia, but if we can take Appalachia and then offer peace, if Pachacuti will take peace in exchange for getting his city back, we might actually take that, because at this point I'd rather just not be at war, and I would rather just continue snowballing all over this game. So... it's going to be a little bit slow taking this, especially because he has really ramped up the assault on Shamron here, and I'm defending it, but you can see just a ton of low health units, and I'm also, I am actually losing Mamluks here, mostly because the health on a lot of them is so low, but that's a little bit embarrassing. I didn't realize I had that that extra Mamluk in stock. That could have been useful. I don't think we're going to buy another military unit, though. I think this is enough to defend. So, but that's what we're doing at this point. We're basically switching over and trying to catch up on religion and on the cultural legacy. So, anyway, I will catch you guys next time there's something interesting to talk about. Hey y'all, we're here at the end of turn 46, and we did actually manage to, and I should have started recording at the beginning of this turn rather than the end, but we did actually manage to capture Appalachia and then force peace with Pachacuti, so that's been pretty effective for us. We've also run into a couple more independent peoples over here in the distant lands, so we still have a huge income of influence, and we still benefit from getting city-states, so we are still going to attempt to suzerain them. And it seems like the, maybe this is just because Tecumseh's over there, and Tecumseh doesn't take down city-states very often, but it does seem like they have longer to live in the distant lands, which can be pretty nice. So, other than that, now that we're not at war anymore, you can see that our yields have kind of bounced back pretty well. You know, we're back up making 600 gold a turn, 500 science a turn, almost 300 culture a turn. Happiness is a little bit low, but it is what it is. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through our list here, and we're just gonna go to every city that has, or every settlement even, that has negative happiness, and we're just gonna start buying temples, since we don't have to worry about gold for war anymore. So we'll just start plopping temples in everywhere that's unhappy, which is going to be very effective because of how good our temples are as Abbasid, but also just generally good because it's pretty affordable to do. We might end up making Hadramedum a city, so if I make Hadramedum a city, my Madrasa probably goes here, so this should be a fine spot for the temple. And we're going to be able to fix a lot, not all of our happiness problems, but a lot of our happiness problems are going to be fixed by just putting temples everywhere, and then more of them are going to get fixed as we start collecting relics, and as we start researching civics that give us more settlement limit. So Carthage was building one, but we'll just go ahead and purchase it. Does it? Actually, I guess that's where I want it anyway, because this is kind of not a great tile in general. It's mostly just we care about it for giving quarters to the Elama, and we care about it for using the adjacency bonus from Petra, so that's a fine place for a temple. So there we go. Now we've been able to spend the war chest that we were holding on to while we were at war with Pachacuti, and we didn't want to lose territory. And now our happiness across the board looks way better. There's still some outliers. Thysdrus is still down here at -20, so that's a bummer. But most of our other settlements are doing pretty well. And next time we get a resource, we might be able to mitigate that a little bit as well. So I think actually with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and queue up a couple of merchants in Carthage. We'll make it 4, sure. And we could be building Aleems too, but it would be nice to get, resources can give me happiness, and resources are also still very good because of my choices in the cultural and scientific trees here, and they're not as good as they were at first, but it still is. We still just get a lot of spread out benefit from trading, so it is still worth doing. As far as our victory conditions go, we're going to start thinking about them more. We've got a drip of treasure fleets coming in, so that's really just going to be a game length thing. If the game lasts long enough for us to beat the treasure fleet legacy, then we'll beat the treasure fleet legacy, and if not, then oh well. Military, we're not quite sure how we're getting there yet. We've got 4 distant land settlements, so if we convert them all to our religion, that makes 8 points. And that means we need to either make 2 more settlements, or we need to capture 1 settlement in the distant lands. So that's pretty far off right now. We're still trying to city build, so I'm not going to worry about that too much. Culture, we are looking really low on culture right now, but now that we are actually paying attention to religion, this one should come in pretty quickly. We've already sent merchants out to a bunch of city-states, and honestly, we can just send merchants. We've already sent missionaries out to. We've sent 2 missionaries out to the city-states, so they should be collecting our relics, and we're going to get a couple from the Tech and Civics tree, so this one's probably going to be finished in, I don't know, 10 or 20 turns, somewhere around there. And then the science tree, we've already got our first point from a... Let's turn the tile yields on, since that's much more relevant now. We've already got the first point from this dungeon university tile that is putting out numbers. I think our ulema should be pretty close. So as we unlock more specialist limit wherever we get it, and also some of these masteries that give extra yields on buildings are actually just really good for reaching the science legacy path. So things are going to get better as we get more and more of those. And yeah, so that's our plan. We're making we're making missionaries, and we're going to start spreading them out to our distant land settlement once we've got the relics from grabbing all the city-states. We don't really want to go to war with Tecumseh. Ideally, one of the people from our main continent who we're already at odds with will settle a distant lands settlement, and we can steal that. So we'll probably have to scout the rest of the distant lands, but failing that, we can always just go and snag Little Axe to finish off the military legacy. And this is actually a pretty decent town as well, so we're not unhappy about stealing that. And other than that, yeah, I think that's our rough plan for how we're going to go the rest of the Empire. I'm probably not going to convert any more cities immediately, just because I don't... The only towns I really have left are towns like, the small island settles that don't really have a lot of space to build. And then, like, Shamron... Oh, what is Shamron doing? Why are you not a... Oh, that's why you're not a hub town. Shamron might become a city, actually. But I don't want to lose all of my really strong hub towns. Leptis and Thenay in particular are together putting out 24 influence, and it's hard to say that a city's going to be better than that when we're already cruising through science, culture, and gold as fast as we need to be with I guess it's worth counting how many cities we do actually have. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 cities is a decent number. We might make one of these distant lands settle over here a city. But other than that, I'm pretty happy getting the influence from the hub towns that I have in a lot of cases. So we're probably not gonna... I don't think we're gonna need too many more cities to win the exploration age. So anyway, unless someone else goes to war with us or some part of our plan changes, we'll just get back to recording once we're closer to the victory conditions. So see you guys soon. Hey y'all, we are back here at turn 55, so this is just 9 turns of war at being at peace. Has done a good amount for us. I haven't really been paying attention to the treasure fleets too much, but we've kind of been trickling them in, and we're slowly building towards that legacy path. We've actually managed to collect all but one of the relics so far, so there are still a couple of city-states that need to be converted, and there are a couple in the Tech and Civic tree anyway, so we're pretty much guaranteed to complete the culture legacy at this point, which is nice. The science legacy point, we've actually doubled it. We've got 10 non-city center tiles that are reaching plus 40 yields, and it's very easy to do, I think, with the madrasa making all of your specialists better in a situation where you can reach a ton of specialists. So you see, like, here in Carthage, it's not counting the palace, which is doing a ton of numbers, but even outside of the palace, you know, we've got this kiln observatory tile that's pushing out 48. We've got the Ulem itself is pushing out 48. Over here we've got a dungeon university tile that's pushing out 48. And just in general, our urban yields are very high in these completed cities. You see the same kind of thing over here in, like, Hippo, where you know, the cities are just putting out big numbers. It's quite a bit. So you'll also notice that, like, in our science and culture, we're 0 or 1 turning pretty much every tech. We've got enough. We might conceivably end the game with future tech before we get a chance to finish out the economic legacy, which should be a bit of a bummer, but it is how it is sometimes. And it's not like it'd be a weak finish by any means. And then we're not quite at the same point with civics. We're actually pretty behind on civics since we spent a lot of time getting all the Abbasid civics, and just have generally had much lower culture. Our general goal here is to get to Notre Dame. I think that Notre Dame, just especially with the number of specialists we're trying to put into our empire, Notre Dame is just an excellent wonder for Abbasids. We could go for settlement limit here, and it's probably a good idea to do so soon, but we're actually mostly just happy at this point. You know, we've got a couple of small negatives here, and the Phystrus is a big outlier with negative 20 happiness, but for the most part, happiness isn't a huge problem for us anymore. So we are interested in picking up the settlement limit, but it's not like required or anything like that. I think there's a bug where the trade screen double shows resources when they're pillaged and then remade. Because this city only has 1 jade and 2 whales. It does not have 3 whales and 2 jade, like it claims to. But we're still happy with jade, double whale, horses, pearl. This is actually still a very good city to trade with, so we're still going to do it. Let's get some happiness and fix. Actually, we should also be taking happiness out of Carthage, because Carthage no longer needs happiness. But yeah, so once we're able to escape the war, bringing all of our yields down and just generally making problems for us, we were able to really quickly snowball into having some huge yields and then getting through the age really quickly. And a big part of that too is that as we're growing our cities, we're bouncing rural population into being specialists, which is worth a lot of money as the Abbasid, and then we're using that money to turn around and buy more buildings that we can use to bounce more specialists. So it kind of spirals out of control in a really nice way. I'm not paying a ton of attention to how I allocate my resources, by the way, other than stacking all of the jade in Carthage, because at this point, you know, that 1 jade was almost 20 gold that we added to Carthage, so at this point jade is incredible for us. Like, we are almost to the point that it might be worth just making more traders to try to get more jade, because jade is just so powerful for us right now. We might want to trade with Roma just for that 1 jade for reference. Who are we trading with? There's no way we're not trading with Athenai already, but just in case, we're going to not be able to afford to buy a merchant in Hadramedum, so we'll just we'll queue up a merchant in Hadramedum to make sure we're getting that jade eventually. Other than that, we're kind of slow rolling the military legacy path. We've got missionaries in our distant land settlements that are kind of just waiting, and I think we should have a missionary. Yeah, we don't have a missionary in Shiraz yet. We'll have to fix that. And if we just convert all of the distant land cities that we already have, that'll bring us to 8 out of 12 non-sufficient Orbis points, which should be okay, but we are still kind of interested in either settling 2 more cities and converting them, or capturing 1. I'm not really interested in starting, you know, the only options for capturing distant land cities right now are actual distant land civs, and I don't really want to start any wars or any bad blood with them, so we're kind of hesitant about doing that. Maybe we can find some good jade settles to... Yeah, there aren't really any good jade settles here, so I don't know. I'm not sure how we're finishing out the non-sufficient orbis, though we might not actually have to. We have enough science that you know, we're going to be future teching it like crazy, so we might end up in a situation where we have the culture legacy path maxed out, the science legacy path maxed out, and then you know, 2 points worth of non-sufficient orbis and the economic legacy path, which would be a pretty decent place to end it. So, other than that, we're not really doing much. We're kind of just taking the victory lap at this point. You know, we're waiting on treasure fleets, and we're trying to get missionaries out, and we're continuing to build up our mega cities, which at this point our mega cities are big enough to win. So honestly, I should probably switch my focus in earnest over to figuring out how we're getting those last two, or the last couple of non-sufficient orbis points. But either way, I'll probably be back with you in another, I don't know, another 10 turns or so, something like that. So maybe turn 65, 66, something like that. Alright guys, we're back here on turn 63, and this is likely like the last 5 turns of the game or so. We looked at our crippling happiness problems because of oversettlement and promptly built 2 more settlers. This will finish the non-sufficient orbis path, so we shouldn't actually have to deal with this happiness problem, because we're basically not planning on actually settling these cities until the actual last turn of the game. So we're kind of just setting them up to achieve legacy paths here. And the economic path, we've got a couple of treasure fleets that are trickling in here and there, and I think we're on like 19. Yeah, we're on 19 treasure fleet points right now. So we're probably going to end this era with 2 economic legacy path points, and we are kind of getting past the point that we can put off the future tech rush. So what I'm thinking is that we'll probably finish up this shipbuilding mastery, just because the AI is looking kind of testy. Somehow Patch Cutie got a hand of Athens, so still going to... Oh, we can't trade with him. Oh, that's because the merchant's out of moves. We still might trade with him because we want the resources that Athens has, but not crazy about that being in Patch Cutie's hands rather than in Catherine's hands. But still not too worried about it, as like I said, we should be ending the game pretty soon, because future tech is going to put a hard timer on the game. So we are also kind of we're upgrading our military, and we're starting to build walls. So we the crisis that we got, we're in the plague crisis right now. I'm not actually suffering from the crisis policies at all, which shows divine punishment, and that only oh wait, that's a good thing. That would mean that it would be good for me to convert my cities. Whatever, I still don't really care to convert my cities, because I've just kind of been spending my gold on, you know, like walls and upgrading units, and I probably don't need to do so immediately, but I would rather be ready for, you know, if, because I do still have two hostile neighbors, and we've been trying to keep Patch Cutie friendly, but he does not want to stay friendly, so... That's about where we are. Other than that, not much is really going on, because there's not actually any wars going on right now. We're just a little bit worried about it based on the state of our angry neighbors and their military buildups. Even Catherine is stealing science from me. I mean, I would too. It kind of makes sense in this game, where I've got like more science than the next 3 or 4 players combined. But let's see. We're actually gonna have a really hard time getting Notre Dame, so I think we are gonna get all of the rest of the masteries here, not because the masteries are actually useful to us, but just because we want to delay the end of the age a few turns so that we can make an attempt at building Notre Dame. Especially like with the number of specialists that we're seeding into our empire, Notre Dame isn't really gonna matter. So it gives your all specialists in your empire 3 extra culture during a celebration. So that's not really going to be relevant this era, but I think that that's an excellent way to start modern, when you know, you're pretty likely to be getting a celebration near the beginning of the game, and just getting a huge boost of culture from that is, in my opinion, very strong. So we're still just kind of building out our cities. Some of our cities have finished building out, so like Carthage is just spamming the All-M unique unit, and some of the other cities are just spamming walls everywhere. And we're putting walls up because cities are a little bit harder to defend during the plague. You know, the plague will kill your defenders if you station defenders inside of walls, but if you have a couple of fortified districts, then it's almost prohibitively hard to take your cities. So by building, you know, 3 or 4 walls in my cities, especially the ones that have nothing else to do and are like 1 turning or 2 turning walls, it effectively makes them difficult to impossible to take. So we have a lot of... I wish I could connect Mediolanum here, but oh well. So I think that's... I don't want to just like click through the last couple of turns. Maybe I will. Maybe I will try to click through the last couple of turns on camera. I'll see how long it lasts, and I'll cut it if it lasts too long. So, not really a huge point. I would try to retake Athens. Sorry, ancient Greek pronunciation. I'm not there today. I would try to retake Athens if I had the option to give it back to Catherine, but I don't actually want it. So, like, you know, I would declare war and retake it if that was an option. But I'll definitely join the war and help her if she wants to take it. We are still trading with them. Jade is Jade. And it is currently worth a lot of gold in Carthage. Yeah, those 2 jade just brought us up 50 gold a turn. Seems pretty strong. And we've actually, even though we're still pretty over the settlement limit, we've managed to solve the happiness problem in all of our cities, at least. Let's see if we can find Thysdrus and shame them for being a little bit of a diva city. Though I guess I could take some of these resources out now that... This is what I needed when we were much higher, or much more over the settlement limit, and then we researched I think social class gave us a settlement limit or something like that. So, but yeah, so all of our cities are producing at max, and even if we look at the towns too, I wish there was also a way to just look at towns. But even most of our towns are doing okay, which again, we care less about towns being unhappy because they're not producing much. And actually, this is a pretty significant drop at this point, so maybe we don't keep that they're not producing that much so they don't matter mentality that worked well in antiquity. Because this is... Yeah, that die was effectively worth 5 gold and a little bit of science and culture, so that's pretty reasonable. I don't know, we'll make a slightly bigger effort to keep our towns happy, I guess. Treasure fleets... And that was a misclick, but this treasure fleet should still bring us to 20 treasure fleet points. If we settle right here, we reach both the whales and the pearls. We're gonna pick up the tea. And the spices, we're not going for the spices either way. It's a shame this is an off freshwater settle, and we're also... I'm tempted to make it now, so I have a place to upgrade my ship and stay safe here. This little desert city we're definitely saving until the last second to settle, but we might settle this one just a couple turns sooner. Maybe we can get like 1 growth event out of the rest of the era or something like that. I think that's actually what we'll shoot for. So we're gonna be settling that immediately and going for 1 more growth event. All of these scouts, and occasionally you'll see me moving naval units across the map, by the way. What I'm basically doing is some of the units that I'm not really using anymore, I'm just... click. I'm just kind of sending across the ocean randomly, and, you know, like, this is where I had a scout here, and I was like, go here. And, you know, I'm just kind of ignoring them while they... And it's kind of a lame... you know, I miss auto scout from Civ 6. That was an excellent feature, but we can kind of imitate it by just grabbing scouts, grabbing naval units, and randomly clicking across the map. So let's get that jade, and let's get that fishing key so that we can get into the trade network. Always got to remember to enter your trade network. That is a reef, so I'd rather build on the non-reef tile, just in case I decide I want a fisherman. And then temple, always good. And we have the gold to kind of spam some buildings here without thinking about it too much. The Stonekeeper's probably, or the Stonekeeper. The Stonecutter's interesting, and it expands our territory to the point that we can grab either of those resources immediately. And I guess walls, just because we're not really spending our gold on much else right now, and we're making just incredible gold. We're gonna keep on pushing culture, because getting science brings us closer to the end of the era, and we want to delay that. Holy... oh, the medieval bridge, that's the bridge bug. It's hard to not take advantage of it, because most of the time I'm, you know, I'm not paying a ton of attention to what's going on with the buildings I'm making. I'm just kind of like, ooh, those are good yields, click, place. And like, that one I was able to recognize, and it's like, why is a bridge giving that much? And it's because of the bug where they like multiply or stack or something like that. But, as an easy one to accidentally... okay, Bank Guild Hall, what are we doing here? So towards the end of the era, I'm prioritizing gold and happiness buildings, just because those are the buildings that get hit the least hard by the age transition and going obsolete. And there's still going to be deadweight buildings, which, you know, we're hopefully going to get to build over, but they're going to be slightly less deadweight than, like my science and culture buildings, which are about to stop mattering. So... purchase. No, we want production. I don't think I want any more of these buildings. I think we're done building in Utica, so we'll go for some culture festivals, and then we'll click that button a bunch of times so that city doesn't bother us again. These all suck. I could build a medieval bridge if I wanted to. I think I'm still just building Aleems here. I could build physicians, but I don't really get what they do. Creates a menagerie in the city. Oh, I've built menageries in most of my cities. That's going to be hard. Maybe it's finally time for Thane to become a city. That's probably not a bad idea. This is making 10 influence a turn. We've got 87. We can afford to make that a city. And let's buy probably the temple just to start with to get the. We already have a temple in here, don't we? Nope, we don't. Let's get the temple. If I can find it. There we go. That gets to be a point where it feels like there are just too many buildings. I don't know, maybe that's just me being a boomer, but... so I think this tile is probably where we want to put our Abbasid unique district. So we'll start off on the Madrasa there, and honestly, we'll probably buy the, well, we can't afford the mosque right now, but we're probably going to be buying a lot of Thane's infrastructure, just because we're close to the end of the era, and we're probably only making, like, production, gold, and influence after the unique district. We might do happiness, too. Those are all decent. Dungeon or guild hall? Both are... Honestly, we kind of want both. Build the... Oh wait, we can only get one because we can only build in the city center. I guess we could get an extra urban tile in the city if we grab a wharf or a shipyard. Let's grab the shipyard because wharfs are terrible. They only give food, which no settlement that can build a wharf benefits from a wharf. If you can build a wharf, you already have enough population that food isn't great for you in almost every case. Sometimes you make a town and you immediately buy it into a city and buy a wharf for it or something like that, but that's not the situation we're in now. We do need to pay attention pretty closely to the notifications at this point, by the way, because we have the plague and we're resting not mercenaries. I keep on saying mercenaries when I mean missionaries. We're resting missionaries on all of our distant land settlements, so it's kind of tempting to... It would take 2 more treasure fleet spawns to make this work, though, which is just a bunch. But anyway, we have to pay attention to the sidebar here so we don't get our missionaries killed by the plague. And, alright, that is just a bit over 15 minutes for this recording, so I think we are going to end it here, and we'll just get back on the last turn to play the last turn. So, I will catch y'all soon. So I'm sure a lot of you have seen that before, but for those of you that haven't, that's one of my favorite wonder transitions in the game. And based on the placement of this wonder, I'm super happy with how it puts the entirety of Carthage in the background too. So we did actually manage to get Notre Dame, which we weren't sure we were going to be able to pull that off, but we got there. Oh, don't care about changing social policies for the most part. That has big numbers on it. Those numbers are culture, and that's fine. We actually got a narrative event giving us a quest to build a wonder the turn before Notre Dame completed as well, giving us a free wildcard attribute point. So that's pretty cool. We'll take that, and we'll go ahead and grab this 10% gold for every alliance you have, which is going to bring us up to a solid 1,585 gold a turn. So we are basically just going to be gold building cities at this point. I think we might go for the university golden age and just make sure we have a university in every city. We might make sure that every little settlement is a city with a university in it, even if we don't decide to make them cities next era, because we care more about the hub towns. We could have a university everywhere. So we're at the point that we're making so much gold that the only limit on our building at this point is the turn timer imposed by the future text that we're unavoidably researching. So we still not sure if we're going to be able to finish the economic legacy or not. That's very up in the air in my opinion still. Sure. Don't really care about the culture from that. 12 is very little compared to once we throw that in there. Let's see if we can get that number too. I'll go ahead and throw in trade wins because that's gold number, which is also, it's got so many modifiers on it that that increases it pretty significantly. Yeah, so the 12 culture didn't matter that much, but you know, we're happy to have more diplomacy with Catherine. Let's see. What are we doing in Sabratton? We're just going to we'll get to work purchasing like one thing, I guess. We'll make an observatory. Why not? And I think that like normally I would say that we would try to build things and spend our gold as fast as possible because the benefit snowballs, right? But we're very close to ending the age and losing the benefit of all these yields. So like while it's exciting to still keep on pushing the number until it gets bigger, which you know there's certainly the temptation to do that, and if that's fun, then you know I'm not gonna yuck your yum. But in my opinion, I'm less. I would rather just let the gold stockpile and kind of on the last turn be able to tailor all of my fledgling cities and empires with the huge stockpile of gold that we're going to build up for the next stage, since I don't think there's as much benefit from prioritizing this age anymore, since it's, again, almost over. Sure. We do want to slot it somewhere, just because it probably doesn't matter at this point, but we are still technically getting, let's see how much we're getting. We're getting, you know, 52 culture and 52 science from resources slotted in settlements, so resources still good, trade's still good, everything Carthage likes is still good. We're very much still able to play Carthage in spirit, which is my happy place right now, so we're going to keep on doing that. And we're still hanging out on that settler to try to get the last turn. Let's see, we got a physician here, and I want to go to a temple and treat the sick. And all of our Mamluks here they don't look like urban tiles because they're all like step pyramids and megaliths and whatnot, but they're all hanging out on urban tiles, and that's a way you can avoid the plague damage, is by just not being on urban tiles with your units. And we're not at war currently, so we'll just set them all to rest. Unfortunately, it does just kill your merchants, which maybe that's part of the plague, but it would be... I wish we had some way of preventing that. Like, we could quarantine merchants, or we could cause them to rest and heal between their trips, or whatever the case, but the plague is horrible for trade, which, if we hadn't snowballed our cities into megacities, would be a problem, because it would be cutting off a lot of the benefits we're getting from trade, but the the trade was more of a starter for us, right? It's not trade doesn't scale insanely well, but trade does provide a lot of base yields, and the base yields got us to the point that we can scale insanely well. Yeah, we just lost a trade ship due to the plague, and we lost a trade caravan due to the plague. R.I.P. traders. Still getting treasure fleets and holding out hope that I do think the turn before we get this next future tech, just in case, since we're trying to do this with one missionary apiece, we're going to try to use the first charge of each of our missionaries to be able to complete the non-sufficient orbis, because we're trying to do not a complicated dance, but a timing sensitive dance to make sure that we settle and convert our cities all at the same time in the distant lands for a last turn burst of non-sufficient orbis points. Alright, Hadrometum, I'm sure you're doing cool stuff. I kind of just don't want to think about build queues right now since I'm recording, and I mentioned wanting to put off building until the last turn with gold anyway, since we're very, very, very rich. The Abbasid Empire is certainly not hurting for gold at this point, so... and with only 3 turns left, it's unlikely that... It's likely that our production value goes to 0 at this point in time, because we're unlikely to finish anything before the end of the era, so there are probably still some things we can finish, but... I don't know, just for the sake of getting to the end of the era and making sure I don't miss any of the other things that I don't want to miss, we're just going to start telling cities to, let's see, do we care about either of those policies? No, not really. And is there any more settlement limit? There is. Maybe we can get to imperialism before the game ends, hopefully. At this point, we're just... Who are you? No, you're not distant lands. Everything's repaired, so I guess we're going to go with the same, just give me culture until... We're probably not going to be able to actually make use of that, the migrant that was spawned there, just because the game's probably going to end before it has time to get anywhere. Might send him towards Shiraz. Hopefully he'll make it there, and we can grab like an extra fishing tile or something. Not super valuable, but you know, it is something. So culture. And when we do this at the end, we're basically just saying, "Hey city, don't bother me again. Here's a bunch of stuff that you'll never possibly get through by the end of the game. Stop bothering me." So, and that's, I like to make the end of the game a little bit easier by reducing the number of like pings and distractions you'll get. Looks like we built all of the Alims. I don't know, that probably gave us a narrative event. That's probably why we got one of those narrative events, but I generally, I wish that I had like a list of them that I could look at to stop building them after I'd gotten all the good ones, but generally most of them seem decent enough to build. Each building in this quarter receives +3 science. Cool. I wonder if that lasts into the next era. Yeah, Zabed. We're gonna go with stop bothering me. And what are you doing? Happiness building, 10% happiness instead of... Sure. Sure. There's probably a more optimal way to use that, but at this point, I think the time it would take to move them into a more optimal position might make them effectively unusable. We're actually real close to finishing this this economic legacy point, so it's let's see, this is coming from Maka, so we might actually reasonably be able to 12 point this. So we actually, this is going to line up almost perfectly, isn't it? Because next turn, this ship gets into port, we get one tick further on our future tech, and then we activate all our mercenaries. So yeah, I think we're pretty much done here. We're just... Yeah, okay, so we get colonialism, whatever. We'll go ahead and choose imperialism that I don't think we're reaching. And then Carthage, don't bother me. Sorry, bud. Thanay, also don't bother me. Command units, treasure fleet gets in, and then we'll go ahead and start all of the conversions. Yeah, that one's still converted. And Shiraz has 2 missionaries, so we don't need to start yet. And then all of the military units at this point should just be holding position. Alright, there we go. So there's future tech. There is economic legacy completed. Military points. And there we go. And I think that's going to be yep, that's going to be 12 of 12 legacies, and we're finishing on turn 75. So a fair bit later than the Isabella Carthage game where we did Majapahit during the exploration age and finished by turn 61, but still a relatively strong finish, I think. So we're I will, so I'm gonna go ahead and just save it here, and I think that if I spend some time building the city up for the next era, we're going to include that as part of the next video. I'm still not sure if I want to play this on Modern or not. This one is a little bit more interesting since Pachacuti is pretty big, so we're not, I guess he's still kind of pales in comparison, so I don't know. We might try the Modern era, but I think if I'm going to do Modern Era with any seriousness, I might have to just start Modern Era single age games, because you snowball so much of an advantage into Modern if you play all the way through starting at Antiquity that it just doesn't feel like much of a challenge. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and let's go ahead and look at Carthage one more time to enjoy the giant mega city that we built up, and we'll check out those yields that Carthage is making. It's doing some numbers. We're pretty happy to see 360 gold a turn just from our capital, and that's I think that's before the modifiers that modify the total gold that you get. So this is this is why I like Jade in Carthage. By the way, is like the first couple Jade you get are almost worthless, right? But once you have a bunch of Jade, they start, these last couple of Jade are at the point that they're starting to be worth like 30 and 40 gold apiece, which just feels crazy. So, there we go. And I think that's going to be the end of this episode here. So, if you guys have any questions or you want to see anything else in the future, then let me know. Thanks so much for watching the video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Otherwise, I will catch y'all next time. Bye-bye.